Hey, Author Nation. Thank you for tuning into the Author Nation State of the Nation podcast. We're happy to have you here. We're going to be talking with Jeff and Emily from Soundbooth Theater about Soundbooth Theater and all the things that it does, the wonderful services it offers to the author community. They're a sponsor of Author Nation, the conference, and they're going to be doing something very special on Tuesday night. So you're going to want to stick around to find out what that is and how you get to participate. So see you soon.
All right, welcome to the podcast. We have Jeff and Emily from Soundbooth Theater. Welcome to your first time on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here. Well, we're in Emily's hometown.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. It's great to show you guys around.
Yeah. So, yeah, we thought this would be really cool to have an opportunity to have you guys out for CEX, hang out there, see some good speakers, and then come on the show and reveal some pretty big stuff that we've got planned for Author Nation this year.
Yeah, real excited about it.
Yeah. Well, before we do that, let's total cliffhanger this thing because I'm excited. I mean, I don't even know all the stuff you've got planned. I know you've been working on it like a sled dog, but let's start out with, for anybody that's not familiar with Soundbooth Theater, a little bit about, its genesis and, the stuff that you're doing in the market today.
Yeah, so Soundbooth Theater, if we're going all the way back to the genesis, after Phil Collins left, of course. If we're all the way back there, Soundbooth
Peter
Theater,
Gabriel? Was it?
Yeah, exactly.
Something's in the air tonight.
Yeah.
So Soundbooth Theater got started. Maybe you could say it got started when I was a narrator, just kind of trying to find my way.
Yeah.
And I learned about this strange new thing called streaming.
Ah.
There was a company called Twitter.
Oh, are we going to go back to Periscope?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Periscope
Periscope just got started. And as a narrator, as a person who had been narrating audiobooks for 2-3 years, I was always looking for an edge. Mm-hmm. Something to help me stick out from the rest of the crowd. And I thought, hey, I don't see any other narrators doing this streaming thing that's just popped up. And Periscope was Twitter's streaming platform. So I said, why not give this a shot? I tried Periscope, and I started a show called Soundbooth Theater Live. And basically what I would do is I would either, narrate live some of the things I was already working on, or I would be taking requests from the audience as to what to narrate. And often it was stuff from Royal Road, which is this independent place where authors, brand new authors, they still do. They write things. They write serialized content. And they make it available for free on this website. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the authors in our genre, which would be lit RPG or game lit, they would post there, and that's how they would get their start. Is they would build an audience there. Once they built a big enough audience, and then once they produced enough material, they would say, "Wow, this is incredible. Let's see what happens if I publish this to Kindle or Amazon." And lo and behold, that was a great way for a lot of authors to get started. They start this fan base who, at least a small percentage of them were willing to buy the Kindle version of the book once it was edited and put together and published properly. And that's enough just to get you as an author and your product up in the rankings, and visible to other people who's never heard of you before. So, that's what I was doing. I was doing a lot of requests from people who were requesting things out of their favorite Royal Road stories. But as time went on and as I began to build more and more popularity, and as I was discovering just how lonely the audiobook narrator life was, I started thinking, man, what can I do to make what I do more interesting and more sociable? And I decided, hey, maybe that means getting more people to work with me on the things that I'm making. So basically, Soundbooth Theater got started because I was lonely.
Now, what year was
this
this that you decided to start?
2017
Okay.
was the first year that a Soundbooth Theater production ever hit Audible.
Okay.
And that was Annie Ellicott was the first person to be on an audiobook with me. Then I published an audiobook narrated by Lori Catherine Winkle. She was replacing me as the female protagonist of a certain series that I'd been narrating for 3 books, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I would like to stop narrating as a female for a while. So Lori was able to do it, and so we published that. Then we had Justin Thomas James narrate for us, and the rest is history. It's just ever since then we've just continued to build our roster of narrators, build our roster of engineers and proofers, and the company's just kind of organically gotten to the point where we are at this point. Because I never really had a plan as to where the company was supposed to go. But I always had a philosophy of production, which was people are paying for audiobooks to entertain them, from our genre at least. Not all audiobooks are meant for entertainment, but at least that's what the genre that we're in, that's what's expected of us. So that's always been my philosophy. Okay, people are spending good money on this, and they could be spending money on Netflix or Amazon Prime or any number of different entertainment venues. So let's absolutely make sure that they get their money's worth no matter how bad the author is.
Well, and another thing too, it's been really fun. I think one thing that is so conducive about Lit RPG and Game Lit to audio is when you think about it, it is such a high percentage of fans who are listening.
Right.
That is true, certainly true of other genres, but I think this particular niche of SFF is really sort of the first one where they place that equal emphasis on the voice reading the book as the voice writing the book, because so many of our fans listen. So many of our fans listen while they're gaming, or we have a lot of fans who are long haul truck drivers and they listen while they drive, or who work warehouse jobs. And so this enables people to continue to read while they're going about their day to day.
Well, and you also are bringing, it's theater, right? This is the other thing that's pretty unique. There's, not to make you sound like you're just a narrator, right? Your business is more than that. You're not just doing duets. You guys are creating what you've shared with me is what you call cinematic audio. Yeah. So I think that's an important thing to understand as far as a differentiator. It wasn't just like, hey, Jeff's a lonely guy looking for people to hang out with. You had a vision of where this was going.
No, I didn't have a vision. I didn't.
Well, the vision was you wanted to play with people. You wanted to play pretend with people on the radio.
That's exactly right. Right. So the vision was, yes, let's have a theater so that this interaction could happen. And from the selfish angle, yes, it's because I'm lonely. But like the byproduct is you get a bunch of creative people together, and they come up with new ideas together, right? And everybody helps deepen the relationship between the performers and the material, because it's an event that everyone's getting together to share.
Yeah. So let's double click on that. Think of an example where you were just like, holy cow, this collaboration we just did, something that happened with the material and some people in the studio where it just took things to another level that nobody expected.
Sure. Yeah. I'll give you 2 different examples from 2 kind of opposite ends of the spectrum from where it starts. So Soundbooth Theater, when I first started, and when I first had Annie Ellicott come stay with me for a while and do voices for a production I was doing. The thing that I actually had her come in for, it was called The Last Story of Unigaya by Harmon Cooper. And basically all I wanted from her was, okay, come and do the female voices in this particular book. There weren't very many. But I was tired of doing female voices anyway, and I just wanted a little extra flavor, and I wanted to put another person's name in the narrator credits, and I just wanted to make it just slightly more interesting. She did a great job with those when she came, and that was the purpose of her coming out. But I was working on another book at the time called Dungeon Lord.
Okay.
And I had no plans to bring on other people, but since she was there, and I had this one character that was this little girl who had been possessed by a giant cockroach, and then I had another character that was a spider queen, that was gigantic and creepy, and had lots of great monologues. I was like, Annie, since you're here, let's have you try these characters out. And we started, I didn't have a specific idea of what she would do, but when she got in my booth and I was at the computer and I was there ready to direct her, and we were ready to record, I was like, you know what? Let's try this. So you're the Spider Queen. We want you to sound big, right? Mm-hmm. And we want you to sound monstrous, and we want people to feel like maybe they can feel the webs and the legs on their face, as they're listening to this Spider Queen. And so we worked together to create extra layers under the voice of chittering and hissing and little creepy giggles and stuff like that. This was the beginning of us collaborating, right? And to this day, that's one of the things that people remember a whole lot about that particular series. And one of the reasons why that series is so successful is because that's when we really started reaching out and trying these new techniques to just make a character sound just that much more creepy. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to just last year, we put together the audio immersion tunnel of Dungeon Crawler Carl, and it is called the Audio Immersion Tunnel for strictly legal reasons. But it's essentially an audio drama version of the hit Audible book, Dungeon Crawler Carl. We wanted to make sure that it was different enough that it wasn't interfering with the exclusivity contract we have with Audible with the Dungeon Crawler Carl audiobook. So not only was I narrating as the main character and Princess Donut and Mordecai and the AI, the characters that we would be lynched if I didn't take those roles. We cast everything else out. We brought in 4 other composers besides myself. We had a team of 3 different people doing sound effects. And the cast is at least 16 people.
Wow.
Excuse me. So it went from, if you go and look at Dungeon Crawler Carl on Audible, and if you look at the reviews, you will see that the audio has had a huge impact on people as far as their perception of the series in and of itself. And just myself doing the different voices in ways that, makes all the characters distinct and alive really has made people addicted to the series. We went even further than that. And we said, this isn't enough. Let's create this atmosphere. Let's bring in everything that I'm seeing in my mind as I'm narrating, those things that are allowing me to perform in a way that makes it feel like I'm there. Well, I want people to hear that part too. I want people to hear the dread and the cacophony of human culture that's just been stapled and duct taped together for the Dungeon Crawler Carl world. I want them to be in that dread and confusion. I want them to feel all the things that I'm feeling as a narrator while this story is going on. And as a result, now we have people who have listened to the audiobook series that's 6 books long now over and over again. We see these people are listening to it over and over again. Oh, well, if you're going to listen to it over again anyway, why don't you listen to it over again in a different style? Lo and behold, we're getting tons of sales for the audio immersion tunnel now. Yeah. We're making double, triple sales because people are using word of mouth, and they're telling others about it, and it's bringing them all directly to our app, our own app outside of Audible. This direction that we've taken has allowed us to build an independent platform that is sustaining itself at the moment.
No, that's really amazing. And to have, a property like that where you think about folks technically could get, the stuff that you were originally doing on Royal Road for free. And then you find out that you go all the way to this point where they're even willing to pay a premium for special stuff of that same story.
Yes.
Now, I know Dungeon Crawler Carl didn't start there, but like that whole idea of thinking through the markets, it's not even like the idea of like selling it over. It's there really new markets opening up in my take on this too. I've always been surprised when authors want to limit themselves to just print, when especially in some of these genres, it's like, my God, it's 10x in audio what you can do in print. As big as Amazon may be, it's got nothing compared to what you're seeing on these, in these cinematic things.
Well, it's great that you bring up the different markets too, because one thing that we knew when we got into this was that, we are hardly the first people doing audio drama. In spite of what a lot of
pretty
our
darn
fans
old.
think, right? I know, and that's one of those things. Oh, Orson Welles, ever heard of him?
Yeah, right.
But it's been funny because for a lot of our fans, it's their first interaction with this stuff, and we knew, we had some diehard audiobook fans who we did not think we were going to convert, and by the same token, there are a lot of diehard audio drama fans that we thought were never going to get on board with some of our more traditional stuff, and it's been really exciting to see how many people are taking advantage of the opportunity to hear some of their some of their favorite IP, some of their favorite stories told in a new way, and they're jumping on. They're jumping in with both feet. They're enjoying this new format, or new to them format, I should say.
So Emily, why don't you tell folks a little bit about what you do? I know you've made it clear that you're the only person at Soundbooth that doesn't play an instrument, but there's a reason why you have you around. So why don't you tell a little bit about your role and what you've been doing, not just for, and then we'll slide into the Author Nation stuff, but kind of the stuff you've been doing other places and what your focus has been, about what Soundbooth is trying to do in the community through you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for asking. So I am our chief marketing officer. Also, little known fact, I'm also an award-winning audio drama playwright. So have to slide the award-winning in there. So I do write. I'm one of our few authors who writes direct to audio drama format. So like when I write for us, my fiction is not adapted from a book. I'm writing a script, but that's not how I started here. I have over a decade's worth of experience in book marketing and publicity. And so when Jeff first approached me, 6 years and change ago at this point, Soundbooth Theater had only been around for like a year at that point. It was very much from this lens of, hey, we're doing this cool thing that, not a lot of other people are doing, and we want help getting the word out there. So that is how I joined. And frankly, I was still freelancing at that point, and it took a few years for Jeff to convince me to come in-house full-time, and ultimately it was the work in the cinematic that we were doing that excited me enough to do that, because on a personal level, I'm not an audiobook listener. I will tell anyone who asks. I'm a huge fan of our immersive stuff, and I think, audiobooks are great for a certain population of people, but if my choice is listening to a classically read audiobook or reading the paperback, I'm going to pick the paperback 98% of the time. Yeah. The 2% is celebrity autobiographies. But in any event, so where I focus a lot of my energy is on promotion. So a lot of that is marketing and messaging, and I'm incredibly proud of the brand voice that we've built up. Our tenets are community building and, interacting with our fans. And I think, that is something that we've really been able to get across. We have the best fans in the world. So a lot of it is the traditional marketing that that you already know about, social media, ads, running different kind of engagement campaigns. We've had people send in photos of their feet, all sorts of weird stuff. But then, a lot of it too. No, it's relevant. And then a lot of it too, I come from a PR background, like I said, so we're starting to do more traditional media speaking. But where I think from PR, what we have really found works the best for us is events. Because again, we are so about that community building. And so getting to come here and hang out with you guys, or getting to go to Author Nation, that for us, those are the PR efforts that we feel pay off, where we're actually getting to engage with the community and our authors and our friends.
Yeah. So, do you remember what I said to you that last year when we met at the show, what I said to you about what our limitations were?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll remind you.
Yeah, please.
I said the limitations were your budget and your imagination, which you guys just picked up the gauntlet. So you come in as our major narration sponsor, and with some pretty crazy ideas about how to make an event happen.
Yeah.
And I'm really, I think the whole community is blessed that you guys are committed to this. And I hope that we can collectively work together to really make your vision come to life. And so I would hope we could take the rest of the time to really talk about dropping some knowledge on the folks that are watching this podcast and listening, about what you guys have up your sleeve for Author Nation.
Yeah. Great. So one thing that I remember from 20 Books to 50K from last year, the predecessor of Author Nation, is that. I think that was our third or fourth year. Third year at 20 Books to 50K, and I noticed that far more than any year in 2023, there were lots of independent audiobook publishers there.
Yeah.
Lots of different independent narrators just there to meet authors and to do some damn business.
Yep.
Right. And that's why we came 3 years ago. And it just heartened me so much to see all of these people in specifically not just the publishing industry, in our industry, in audiobook narration and production, picking their work up, representing themselves, and not depending on bigger publishers to get them out there and to get them in touch with rising star authors. The indie community is what traditional publishers are now looking towards to find the next hit, right? They know that no longer is their system able to produce enough to sustain their business. They're looking for those authors as well, and I believe that that's the future for narrators, is for us to pick up our industry and to own it.
Yeah.
Instead of allowing the traditional publishers, the investors, the people who see it as a money-making opportunity and don't see it as their craft and passion. Take it from those people. That's my belief. That's where I come from. I completely come from the independent community, and I made my career what it is, completely against the advice of the rest of the independent narrator community, who were, they were all saying, the way to do this is to make a name for yourself at first in the indie community, but then get in touch with the publishers and get checks from them and get jobs from them.
Yeah.
Where, that's a fine way to set up a job for yourself, but it's not a fine way to make sure that you have a sustainable future ahead of you, because the market itself is not going to wait around and make sure that your job is intact before it continues to develop.
Yeah.
Audiobooks should be seen as just one other medium of entertainment, and not just a supplemental thing tied to the traditional publishing industry. And so I saw 20 books to 50K as an opportunity for me to help deliver that message along with the rest of those independent narrators and publishers who were coming up, to empower independent narrators and say, look, we need to take command of our jobs. We need to not just be formulas that books are plugged into. We need to conform to our material. We need to serve the authors that are bringing their material to us in the same way that publishers are serving them. And if we do that in the right way, then we have this industry to ourselves.
Well, what I would interject there is going back to what you talked about earlier and some of the happy accidents that created your business, is that stuff doesn't happen in that traditional model you're talking about. Like, you have to be in a more raw, nimble place where you can say, you know what, there was something there. Let's go chase that down. Let's maybe we'll do a short story and see if this hits with the market. You know,
Absolutely.
Things that you can do as an indie narrator that the traditional folks, you know, you could probably do really good working for a publisher and they're sending you jobs and you sit in a booth all day and you get what you can get out of your voice. But like, that's not where creativity is going to be.
No, not at all. In that model, a narrator is incentivized to get the job done as quickly and efficiently as possible so that they can move on to the next job and collect another paycheck. But if you are like us, and if you are building your business as a narrator by considering each project that you're involved in to be an asset rather than a paycheck, then now you're accountable, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like you have a mentality that the better your performance is, the better your pay is going to be. You are tied to the success of the book itself, and if you have the courage to do that, then the ceiling has been removed.
Yeah.
From your career, and now you can be as successful as any project that you put out there.
Well, I mean, you look at Dungeon Crawler Carl and the cinematic stuff.
Yeah.
That never would have gotten greenlit, ever.
No. Because
And-
why?
Yeah.
You know, like you could sell the IP rights to an audio drama company, right? But audio drama companies are generally in the same boat with audiobook companies where they're like, well, we have this very limited budget
Yeah.
for every production we put out there. And because there's so many elements, that budget has to be stretched very thinly. Right, and you have to really luck out to get the right producer on there who's gonna really care about the project. Whereas for me, Dungeon Crawler Carl was already a project that's made me tons of money and that I'm super passionate about anyway.
Yeah.
So all it took for me was like, oh great, I have this big surplus of profits that I've gotten from this project. I'm happy to take a big chunk of that and put it back in and like allow my imagination to run even more wild.
Yeah.
For the people that enjoyed the entertainment the first time.
And I think, too, one of the things that we love about you guys, and one of the reasons we're so excited to be working with you, is because I think that you guys do such a good job of, you give authors, the correct tools and the correct guidance, but I think it's all sort of predicated under the assumption, like, there is no one way to do this. And, that's how we feel too. We are very attached to the way that we're doing things, but ultimately what we want to be seeing is just a more immersive audiobook industry in general. And so, we work on a royalty share basis. You cannot hire us. And that has always been one of like the best and worst things about 20 books for us. We meet so many eager authors, and a lot of them will say, how can we work with you? And unfortunately, sometimes the answer is, well, unless we pick you, you can't right now.
Yeah.
And so when we first started talking to you guys, we were so excited about the opportunity to say, hey, we are where we are, But there are a lot of other people who have this similar philosophy, this similar dedication to quality and entertainment. And we would love to help you guys match those narrators with the authors who are just starting out as well. Like,
Right.
there's room to grow the whole industry here.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I've always been the kind of person who believes that competition is a net good within my industry, because what it does is it increases demand across the board. The more companies out there the more people out there who see what we do become inspired, say, hey, look at what heights they've reached. I wonder if I can reach that high or even higher. The more listeners are going to see this activity, the more they're going to compare us against competitors and say, oh, well, this company does this better, but Soundbooth Theater does this better. That's what we need. We need that word of mouth. We need people to be talking about the productions that they're listening to, and the more different companies there are that have different ways of going about it and who are unafraid of the bigger companies being in their way, I think the more freely that the entire market is going to expand, and the more into checking out audio drama that listeners will be, because it's just more excitement. Competition breeds people sitting in the stands and cheering you on.
Yeah. Well, I understand what you're saying about competition. I think, though, that you're bringing the approach that you've brought to what we're doing together, and the stuff that you've asked for in this is actually more collaboration. Like, you're basically saying, listen, I want more people to get a shot.
Yes.
To come in here. I don't care if I have to compete with them or not. But I want more people in here playing the game.
Yes.
And give more people opportunity. And so, one of the things we've talked about is how we're going to be working with you in creating more content to help narrators to learn the business, to learn from guys like you, and how you're doing your marketing to figure out how, if they do want to, be the next Soundbooth, how to go about doing that.
Well, and I think also just letting these people know, I mean, kind of hearkening back to what we were talking about earlier, part of the reason that we started out in this genre is because that is where people were interested in this kind of thing. But, the immersive stuff that we do. But it's been really cool to see when we talk to people outside of Gamelit and watch the wheels turn in their head and hear them realize, oh, this could work for my universe too. And, you guys get such a, diverse showing of genres there. And I really think that this is so conducive to so many of them.
So let's talk about this right now. I know one of the things that you guys are planning on doing is a anthology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you tell folks a little bit about that? And this is something where, while there's going to probably be some pretty big heavy hitters out of Lit RPG, you might know a few guys.
Yeah.
There's going to be some other folks and some opportunities for up and coming authors as well.
Yeah. So the anthology itself, we're going to present it in two different ways. In one way, we're going to be sourcing scripts. Well, both of these ways, we're sourcing scripts from authors who are going to actually be at Author Nation. One of them being Harmon Cooper, who we've worked with extensively. Another one being Matt Dinneman, whose children we have kidnapped in my basement.
Hi, Matt.
And if he doesn't,
Oh my God, he's outside the window, Duck.
We're gonna have authors from Author Nation.
You actually thought he was there,
right?
We know where he is. He's a Crypticon.
We know who he is. We have our people watching him at all times.
All time.
Every author we get involved in this project is going to be writing a specifically audio purposed skit. It's going to be 5 to 10 minutes each. We're going to collect them all into one anthology, and we're going to make them available on our platform, Soundbooth Theater, for people to download for free. when they attend Author Nation, and that's going to release and be made available while we're there. But we're also going to perform those same bits live at Author Nation, and that's Tuesday night, right?
Yeah. Did you hear that, folks? That's going to be a live show on
Yes.
Tuesday night at the event in the Expo Center that Soundbooth is going to be orchestrating, for
Yes,
lack of a better word.
So now our showrunner is Aaron J. Morton. He's our lead composer, and he's very used to putting together live performances. He actually has his own nonprofit that he has put together that brings kids from all over the country to Tulsa to be in this very coordinated, creative marching band. And he takes this marching band on competition all across the country and does these awesome coordinated live performances. I mean, you would not
I've
believe.
seen some of that stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so crazy. The music is incredibly eclectic and off the wall. The choreography of the band as they're playing their instruments, doing these crazy patterns on the field. I mean, he is used to putting on amazing live performances, and honestly, what we're going to put on is going to be less complex than that. Really, what we're doing is we're taking those skits, we're putting them into a live performance format, but we're also going to be putting in between these skits musical performances. Soundbooth Theater, at our core, we're musicians. Music is where I learned to narrate. It's not as if, that's why I learned music. I wanted to always be a musician. But as a musician, when I used to listen to audiobooks before I started narrating, I was confident I could do better than what I was listening to. And it's because music teaches you what tempo and melody can do to the human soul. And both of those elements are really all you have to work with as a narrator besides the words. You use the words to inform what that melody and rhythm should be. And you use the vision that the author is supposed to be planting in your head as what inspires your performance. So you just extrapolate that to music in general and blend the two things. And really what we want is to inspire everybody who's at Author Nation, especially the people who want to be narrating, especially the authors who never really knew what was possible in audio when it comes to storytelling. What we want is to inspire those people and kick the week off with that inspiration. Give them a good time. That's what we're here for at the end of the day as fiction writers, right? Like, I'm not a writer, but that is what, if you want a career in writing fiction, you better recognize that what you're doing is entertainment.
Well, how I would frame that is you are in the same business. It's the experience business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And writers tend to think about it from the perspective of I'll write the script and then it's your job to imagine the play unfolding in front of your mind's eye. Mm-hmm. You just kind of act as a more, special effects and stage action and right. It's your interpretation of that and that you deliver as an experience and your voice. And so I think there's, when people are thinking about this isn't like, oh, what can we do on a Tuesday night just to do stuff? Think about this from a bigger perspective about how we're delivering an experience. Everything with Author Nation is a learning experience. If we're doing it, there's some learning to be in it. And the idea of how Soundbooth is tapping into their community and their resources to create an experience for that audience.
I'm glad you said experience too, because this is rare. I almost feel like Jeff is underselling it.
I do. It's
Usually he's saying going, and I'm like, oh my God, can we possibly deliver? But I actually think in this situation, you're kind of underselling what we're doing almost, because yes, it's going to be the skits, it's going to be the music, but I think if you are not familiar with what we do, and again, I'm not a musician, I'm not a narrator, so I can say this, you cannot fathom how cool it is.
Yeah.
And we are giving people the opportunity to see that, to see how we produce. And there's also going to be, in between the sketches and the music, some miscellany, and you'll get to see how, where performers also have this space to leave their mark on something. There will be, some pieces that are improvisational. And just because, again, I think that collaborative piece of it, how we work with our authors and our musicians, is such a huge part of it. But so it's not just going to be sort of a live retelling of the stories in the anthology. We really are going to be delivering an experience and our primary goal, to Jeff's point, is we want everyone to leave that night hopefully having had an amazing time, but also thinking about how am I creatively invigorated now?
Yeah, for sure. I think that, that you're not really sure what the enjoyment was. Was it, the entertainment, the laughs? Was it that you were in this environment with new friends and you're creating relationships? You want everyone to be coming off of that with, and here's like part of, like, let's be honest, this is about how you guys are branding your company. This is so you can get more authors to work with and more people to this is why are we doing this stuff? This is about the future of marketing is this kind of stuff. It isn't how good you can write your copy on a Facebook ad. It's like, are people attaching their identity with your brand? Like, are they like, dude, you gotta go to this show because Soundbooth does the craziest stuff on Tuesday night.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is about inspiration. Yeah. It really is about showing narrators at the same time, look at what Soundbooth Theater has achieved over really a relatively short amount of time. That we've been able to get to a spot of influence where we can convince a big, boring group of authors that, we can have a really good time, right? Like we can and this is out of your guys' work that we're able to respond. Yeah. There's so much more that audio can achieve with an audience than if it was simply just the books. Now, like, don't get me wrong. Plenty of books throughout our history have been so impactful that people will read them over and over. Mm-hmm. But, the number of people who have the time to read is growing thinner, right? Everyone's busy. And this is just another stage that's showing people, okay, we can do it in audio. We can bring this to life in audio. And then you can take this version of your IP and show it to someone who even shoots higher.
Yeah. Well, and where I was thinking is like authors sometimes will, because of their love for the written word, limit themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know what? You can love the written word all you want, but there's a lot of guys that just are never going to read a book.
Yeah.
They'll listen to a book. Right. They'll listen to a lot of books, and they'll pay even more for that. But you could give the book to them for free, and they wouldn't read it.
Right. That's right. But that's why that's why a lot of books become more popular once the movie comes out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right, because it reaches a wider audience who would not have otherwise seen it.
Yeah.
So we're just another stepping stone between there. Except we want that middle stepping stone to really raise the bar for even the people that are making the movie. I mean, imagine if you have an incredible audio drama of something that you've written, and you can see that your listener base is like, holy shit, this is the definitive version of this story. Now, if a movie producer comes along, they have a much higher bar to work against. They have to outperform the audio drama now. And so the better your audio drama is, the higher the standard is for whatever the next stage of your medium is. So again, it's about, number one, showing everyone there that audio producers need to be people who entertain, who know how to create a good time for the people that are listening, right? And I think that means the whole board, that across the board for audio. That's important. We need to be charismatic. We need to be entertainers, and we need to engage the listeners in a way that they find the connection between us and the IP irresistible.
Yeah.
And they have that strong association. And so whenever they think about your IP, they think about that good time that they had. Number two, we want those narrators to see this is a future that you can have.
And authors.
And authors, for sure. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, and that's, I think it's pretty noble for you to be like, hey, listen, we've been really successful and we've got these opportunities, and frankly, part of it's you don't have the bandwidth to help everybody that you could, but there's...
Yeah, I would say that's number one. I would say that's number one. Like, I would much prefer to inspire other people, because it's just too much time and energy to hire you and to take over your career. No, I don't want to run your career. You run your career.
Right. And that's really the indie spirit. Like, you know, not that, and not necessarily imitate you guys, but be inspired by and figure out your way of doing it, right? Because, you know, you and I have talked about your business, and, you know, as a business owner, you have a lot of responsibilities that weren't, oh, that's in the fine print. Like, and I signed it. Now they're yours. Like, and this is something a lot of folks that have found success end up having to do, is think through, like, wow, I'm the dog that caught the bus. Now what do I do with it? Is this really what I wanted? I thought I did. And of course you can change that. But I think that what's really interesting in getting to know you better and talking about this is this whole idea of, like, you wanting to help other people on the narration side figure out what's their thing. And so that's probably the biggest thing for us, is, you know, is where we'll be putting more and more resources into this. That's our commitment to our relationship here, is what we're going to do with this narrator track in 2024 is just the beginning.
Yeah.
We're going to commit to this online and off and at the show to make this where we can help folks that are thinking narration, just like we're helping folks that are thinking written word.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the more, like, I would love it if Soundbooth Theater was like sort of the ambassador of narrators to authors.
Yeah.
You know, and people that were just helping to facilitate more and more handshakes between groups of people who have nothing to do with our own business, right? But whose very deal making validates our industry.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's already something that we love to do. I mean, there have been multiple times where a title has come across our desk that for one reason or another we cannot take it on, but some of the authors who work with us who also freelance will say, you know what, this might be a great fit for you to take on independently. I mean, we are all about getting more audiobooks made, even if we are not the ones making them.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what else, we need to wrap this one up. Sure. What else did folks need to know about your plans for the show? Any, you know,
well,
breaking news or...
Yeah, besides us putting on a badass live performance on Tuesday night, I think that another thing that I'm really excited about is for Rave, which is, you know, now this is going to be just Friday this year, or are we extending that
It's
somehow?
extended. So, you know, what we're doing with Rave is it starts really on Thursday evening with Kevin Smith. And that event, like, so we're gonna have our closing sessions on Thursday afternoon. Then we're gonna kick off with the evening with Kevin Smith. Have some, you know, time for authors and readers and listeners to hang out, and narrators. Friday's the signing, and the you'll be doing some live readings, and there's going to be panels for people to meet their narrator, their favorite narrators. And then we're going to end that evening with a fantasy party the hotel. So it really goes like 24 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anyone who knows us knows that we're 100% behind facilitating any kind of partying.
Oh, good Lord.
But also, the commerce, of course. One thing that Soundbooth Theater also does outside of production, right, outside of making the thing that you listen to as amazing as possible, is we almost act like audio agents to our authors. And we give our authors sort of a banner to collect, to get together under. Right. So what we want to make sure is that our authors are close to us during that rave session when we're selling and signing, where, everyone that is under us is associated with our brand. And, that's a thing that authors can also look forward to if they find a production company for their audio that has a strong enough brand, is that they can get together under that brand and that brand can help sell their own stuff. And we do our best to create a community with our authors, and all of our authors that sell the best and do well with us, they all are friends and they're friends with us, and it is a real community vibe and a family vibe, because by us all working together, we're all helping each other to succeed.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a couple really good representations of that at Rave. There's going to be you with all of your kind of umbrella of narrator talent, and then there's a lot of authors that like they want to be at your booth. They don't want to run their own deal. They want to be hanging with you. But like J.N. Chaney with the Variant science fiction publishing house, he's going to have all of his guys that he co-writes with there, so they're all coming together like your kind of your family, and Chris Kennedy with the Four Horsemen stuff. So I love the fact that there are those communities, because I think as lonely as this is because remember, Jeff, this was all because you were lonely. That people need that, right? That's part of the deal, right? I mean, what do you really cherish more about what you've built? Is it you hanging out in the booth with your friends and having a good show, or is it the money you're paying taxes on?
I don't know. I honestly don't know which one's more important, because one begets the other.
Yeah.
The social opportunity wouldn't be there without the financial success to a certain extent.
Sure.
Without us being able to have the proof in the pudding, we wouldn't have a community.
Yeah.
Right. So those two things go hand in hand. And I don't know that there's any way to compare one against the other as to what's more important. I've always been the kind of person who doesn't need a whole lot of money to survive. So if I'm going purely on what is most important to me, I'd say that community aspect. I would say all the friends that I've made on the journey and all the relationships that I can maintain in that way. But money's dope. I love money.
But I mean, kind of just like going back to speaking about Rave in general, we've always enjoyed Rave at the 20 Books Conference, and they've done a fantastic job in past years. But again, another one of the things that got us really excited when we first started chatting with you guys is sort of just the focus on making it a more fan-centric event, because I think that's something that a lot of even not first time, but a lot of the newer authors who are coming to the event to learn from the more established people, this is just another opportunity for them. Now they can watch these more established authors interact with fans, and you're providing them with this awesome blueprint of how to do that when they reach that point, and to get in on the ground floor now. So I mean, we're really excited that it's going to have more of that fan focus. I think that's going to be awesome.
We are excited about that, and we're gonna have another episode where we talk solely about Rave and what we can expect on that with you guys, because I know your reputation precedes you with some of the cool stuff that you've done at fan events. So so as we wrap up here, Emily, you want to share where people can find Soundbooth and all that fun stuff, the shameless plug at the end of the podcast?
Absolutely. Thank you. So if you head on over to soundbooththeater.com. No, so we have a website. It is soundbooththeater.com. From there, you can also download both versions of our app, Apple and Android. You can find us on YouTube under Soundbooth Theater Live. That's where we do our live shows. Jeff also does his cold reads on there. So you can watch Jeff pre-reading in real time, which is a lot of fun. We are on Facebook, both as our page, Soundbooth Theater. We also have a Facebook group where you can interact with the community, Soundbooth Theater Live. There are several other Facebook groups that we are huge fans of, including Gamelit Society, Lit RPG Books, Lit RPG Forum, Lit RPG, and Lit RPG Legion. Did I get all of you?
You got them all.
And we
Wow. You're happy I didn't ask you?
Yeah, I am. I'd be like, just soundbooththeater.com. I don't know.
And then, we're also, our Reddit profile has been boosted, which that's the one thing.
R/Dungeon Crawler Carl.
R/Dungeon Crawler Carl. That is the most fun place on the internet.
Really
I believe
is.
that.
Wow. That's awesome. Yep. Well, man, it's been awesome having you on the show, and we'll have you back again.
Hey, thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much,
thanks.
Joe. This is awesome.
Bye.